There was talk about trying to increase the tempo some. Where do you feel like you guys are with that?
Yeah, it's been at times been really good. We had a tempo period today, and we had a rapid fire period. The biggest thing with tempo is it has to be, every position group has to be on board with that. If the wideouts aren't on board and everybody else is, we're waiting on the wideout. So it takes all 11 guys to be committed to that. And I think we've made a bigger emphasis this spring than maybe where we were at times last year. And I've seen progress with that. Sometimes with the spring game, you got to be a little bit careful because you're divided up on two sidelines and those type of things. You may have a wideout that's playing every play for his team the whole day or something. But I've been pleased overall with where we are. The biggest thing is going to be for those guys to continue it this summer whenever they're out there doing skills and drills and we're not here. And then obviously in fall camp, getting ready for September.
Coach got tight end with Milan and Garrett coming back, and you got Brent Galloway who's been cut loose now to practice. Are you seeing some strides there to making progress from what you had there last year?
Yeah, I think we talked about it the other day. Probably the biggest noticeable difference is Garrett Williams. Having him out there. I mean, we missed him last year. Just his physical presence in the running game. And what I've been pleased with is his ability to catch the ball, his route running. That's something that he's really had to work on, and he's improved. I mean, if we charted his catches and drops, he's probably in the 90%, and he's probably been below 70% prior to this spring. So that's been a real positive. And then, another guy that doesn't get talked about a lot that's really coming on is J.C. Chalk. He's really put on some weight. I think he's over 250 pounds now. Looks good. Biggest thing for him is really just the mental part of learning everything to do. But he's shown some flashes. He's going to be able to help us. And then I've been pleased with Milan. I mean, it's one thing to go out as a kind of first-year starter, and it's kind of that next year is where, from year to one, year two is where you usually see the most improvement. And I expect to see that from Milan this fall.
Y'all expecting Braden to play in the spring game?
I don't believe so. He's still been in green and kind of doing routes on air and those type of things. That would be a question for Coach Sweeney. But if I was guessing, I would guess probably not. Maybe get to run some routes pregame or something like that.
With the quarterbacks, we know the old axiom: if you have two quarterbacks, you don't have any. But
so what happens if you have four?
Exactly. But can you envision a scenario, as a coordinator, do you have a preference or an opinion about doing that, or will you be open-minded to a scenario in which that might be beneficial?
I like the scenario of having four quarterbacks. I do. I like the scenario of having 3 9-men. I like having 3 really good backs. So, I mean, how all that works out, we'll see. I mean, that's the positives. Those are the problems that you have whenever you recruit really well. Those are good problems to have. And I think as long as Coach Sweeney's up front with all of our guys, there's no hidden back, office conversations going on. Hey, we got to compete every single day. Everybody's job is on the line every day. And the other thing that we know is, if you work hard and you earn the opportunity to be the best guy, then you're going to run out there, regardless of who you are. And that's been a part of our program for a while, regardless what position. So how all that shakes out, I know that'll be a big storyline. But that's a lot better scenario to be in. I know I've got friends that are out there coaching, and they're not real excited about next year because of quarterback situations. And like I said, we've got 4 guys that we can go win a lot of games with next fall, and we'll just wait and see how that shakes out.
So with the confidence that y'all do have in your 4 guys, do you think there won't be much hesitation to play multiple quarterbacks in a single game?
Man, y'all are trying to get me on a Friday. I want to go home and watch the Masters Saturday, and I'm going to Augusta Sunday. I'm looking forward to that. That is not anything that we've even talked about, being honest. That really has not come up. And, Coach Sweeney will be 100% in charge of all of that. And we'll kind of work our way through whenever we get there. But just being honest, we have not talked about it one time, about any of those situations.
says you're going to play multiple quarterbacks in the spring game.
Yes, we will. We plan to play 4. That's what we've got. All right, so they will. We'll have 4 playing in Death Valley in 2018. It's filmed April 14th. All right.
Thanks, Coach.
All right, good.